Better to have more information than less, but you can't do that, at the cost of procrastinating, making a decision. Tushar says, great interview with Jake and Henry, invaluable advice on mindset and lifestyle. My question for you, Derek, is what factors affect your decision to either slowly build your holdings in a given stock issue or place a large investment in it upfront? Thanks. It depends on the circumstances. There's times where, a stock is just so grossly misunderstood that you want to buy a big chunk of it. And then, if it's mispriced in the wrong way, if it's mispriced and it's too cheap and you can see pretty clearly how it'd be more valuable in the future, go buy a big chunk and then maybe add a little more and add a little more and add a little more if it still seems appropriate, as you have additional funds available. But there's some value in, I don't want to say dollar cost averaging. There's some value in adding to a position over time. If the information available to you suggests that's intelligent. So you have to be open-minded about it. But I would tend to say that if there's something that I really like, buy a chunk of it, do more research, and if I like it more as I find out more, we can buy some more. But, you got to do sufficient research up front or have a sufficient understanding of what's going on. But if you buy a chunk of something that you understand pretty well, you look into the details. You're like, man, I like it even more. The price has drifted down even more. Let's expand that. Let's have a bigger position there. Yeah, I've done that several times. So it makes sense. Just doing everything up front is like, the world is dynamic. So it's fine to buy a big chunk of something if it makes sense to you. If it's mispriced and you think it's extremely favorable, that's fine. But you'd be better to buy a good chunk and then add more as you know more, and weigh that against other opportunities, obviously. Anoop says, thank you, Jake Henry, etc. Derek Jake Henry, for the words of wisdom. Asher says, Tony mentioned interest rates being an indicator to the market and influences its prices. What other macro fundamentals that lie outside of securities, balance sheet, cash flow, and statements do you keep track of? Well, be nice to know what's happening with consumer confidence, huh? Be nice to know what's going on with unemployment numbers. It'd be nice to know not only interest rates, but inflation rates, which are two different things. That when they raise interest rates, it tends to try to damper inflation, but all those things are intertwined. And then you can niche down and say all sorts of industry specific things as well of, numbers on crops, numbers on, temperature, weather, etc. There's all sorts of things that you might want to know about depending what niche you're in and what sort of interest, geological information for mining or oil and gas industry things, or, political factors you'd want to know about for various sectors, even for energy sectors, again. So there's a lot of niche things, but, big picture macro things. So you have to understand what's going on with the interest rates, what's real inflation look like relative to those interest rates, what's unemployment look like, and maybe within some demographics of interest to you, niche down into that a bit more. There's a lot of things there that are valuable to know. Better to have more information than less, but you can't do that at the cost of procrastinating making a decision or making an investment that could cost you a lot of money. Robert says, here's a different one. Elsie says, with the country credit being downgraded, what's the outlook of the change in the future, Derek? Well, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to have higher cost of borrowing, even more disrespect from other nations and other political leaders. Having a lower credit rating for the what was the leading country in the world forever, and I suppose technically still is for however long. We've abused the country and abused the hardworking people in the country so significantly. It's just sad. And then, the politicians just keep doing that. So it's sad. But yes, it's bad for the country's finances and bad for the country's future. And, it makes us look weak, makes us look dumb. because we behaved in weak and dumb ways. So it appropriately makes us look that way. And it won't be a wake up call to anyone. No one will do anything about it. As far as the foreigners will, foreign nationals, again, will treat us with less respect because we deserve it. Interest rates could go up on bonds because we deserve it. So less people are going to want to buy them at any given interest rate. So, yeah, I mean, the place has been so mismanaged, we deserve to have worse outcomes. And it's very sad because it could be different. It could be otherwise. Robert says, hey, Derek, thank you for spending time with us and for the guests. Question that I have for you this week is, without speculating and paying much attention to the news, what made you look into green brick builders? How long did you wait and see the trend of people moving out of California and New York? Well, the trend was already happening. The trend's been happening for years, and it really accelerated in 2020. And I just, I did a little research on it and I pulled the trigger on it because I seen the trend happening. All you have to ask yourself is like, well, are the politicians of, California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, are the politicians there going to make, more sane decisions in the future? Are they going to make decisions that are more sane or less sane than they have in the past? And I think it's clear they're going to make more crazy decisions. They're going to make all sorts of more crazy decisions, and they have. And, how are the citizens going to respond when they could go elsewhere and have a, better life circumstance, pay lower taxes, have a better life, et cetera? It's not hard to see that, you've seen a trend already happening. It was all over the media. It was all over everywhere. Everybody could see it. Everybody knows this if you've been paying attention at all. And I just had to be like, well, are they going to stop this trend, or is it going to accelerate? I'm like, well, how are the politicians going to behave? Well, they're going to behave in ways that sane people are not going to want to be there to be victims of their insane policies. So that's the only decision that I made. It's not a hard call, Some people are confused. They say, Derek, what is the 10 Commandments of wealth? Not the 10 maybes of wealth. It's the 10 core things that you're going to need to know about in detail if you'd like to accumulate significant wealth in your lifetime. Click this link up here to find more information, exactly what is the 10 Commandments of Wealth, how is the program structured, what's inside of it, how are you going to benefit from it. If you're doing well already and you'd like to do better, click that link and find out more. There's over 100 hours of content in this program. I've interviewed dozens of world champions that shared what it took for them to win, to be the top Hall of Fame athletes in their respective areas. And I brought a lot of other superstars in there from business, people that are real world entrepreneurs that made serious money, as I have myself. We all share with you what are the foundations you're going to need to know if you want to be successful yourself. Be a chooser, not a loser. Leave a comment if you want a business or success question answered, and subscribe for even more winning.